example, when you first started out in the forensic auditing side, I mean, I'm sure computers were still fairly, computer systems, all of that, or
Yes. Yeah.
digitized information, it was still fairly new. So, I mean,
Mhm.
the fact that you now sort of upskilling to make sure that you can do stuff in there, with regards to AI. I mean, maybe you can just track us through like how you sort of navigated as a forensic auditor, maybe that whole thing about things going online, as opposed to them just being on paper. And of course, when did you identify the need, for example, to upskill so that you are able to navigate that new digital space in a better way?
Yeah. Yeah, so when I started my career, it was I'm not going to even give my age, but it was in them days. It was a long time ago, but I came across auditing, right, through my brother. My brother was studying auditing, and then I was interested in the auditing environment. But when
Mm,
I went into the university did not present qualification for internal auditing, but presented the
mm,
qualification for computer auditing, but a
okay,
mixture of auditing and IT. So it was
okay.
fascinating for me because I was saying, okay, now we're getting into the grips of ICT knowledge and how to try and collaborate these efforts with auditing and ICT. And that's when I then decided to study computer auditing. That was my first qualification. It was computer auditing. But when I went into the computer auditing space, it was still very new to
Mm,
the audit profession also, because then it was we need to get more computer auditors because everything now is not manually done, it's automated.
yeah.
So we need to learn of the systems. There's a number of audits software that I needed to learn on. So when I got into the government space, then I started finding out, okay, now this is the software that you use for auditing. And I was like, wow, okay, now it's cool because you don't have to do these things manually. You can actually do it
Yeah.
in an automated way. And I started to learn around and go for courses actually, go for further
Mm,
courses on how do you audit through the computer. And then I realized, okay, you know what? Auditing and forensic investigations are two different aspects. Auditing is very clear cut, it's very compliance driven. It's what you
mm,
look at your policies and you need to ensure that the organization does what is required of them in a particular policies. Whereas
mm,
in forensic investigations, you need to think out of the box now because fraudsters are very innovative. So you need to be very
mm,
creative. And
mm,
that's where I then came in to say, okay, I'm very interested in this forensic investigators point of view. And then I started to go into the forensic investigations field. And then when I was in the forensic investigations field, then there was modules in the university that said that you need to learn about AI, you need to learn about forensic tools, software that you need to use for case
mm,
management, how you manage your cases in the forensic environment. So there was a lot of upskilling that I needed to do because I needed to go to a number of webinars, a number of policies, because it was also a very new field, very new
mm,
area
mm,
in the market at that time. And so I went for short courses, 1 day courses, even a couple hour courses to try and upskill myself. And then I decided that, okay, I want to make this my profession now, to be a forensic investigator. And when I went into the forensic investigation field, then I realized, okay, now law is there's a legal aspect of it. So
mm,
that's when I started to go into the legal aspect. But I'm not cut out to be in the courtroom. I knew that.
mm,
Well, I wanted to be able to develop policies. I knew that I could fight battles or educate individuals on how to
yeah.
interpret law. That was my main goal. And that's where I then started using the tools of trade, with webinars and Teams and Zoom, and then LinkedIn came in because I was
Mm,
not really uh, active on LinkedIn. It was
mm,
recently, I think it was in 2016 that I started becoming very active on LinkedIn and using my skill sets that I've gained in the forensic investigations field to bring out my skill set of activism.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, so I used technology there because LinkedIn was there, but it wasn't used wholeheartedly, for
Yeah.
individuals. Now it's used.
Yeah. Myself as well. I had it from 2012, I think. Um, but I only started using it in 2020,
Oh, okay.
so I mean, when I first started, I thought it was like Facebook for employees or for people, your friends at work. But I mean, the way I learned to leverage it,
Mm,
as sort of, even as we spoke before we hit record, as caused my own path to snake in a very particular way that,
great.
if you asked me 5 years ago if I'd be doing what I'm doing now, I would have
Mm,
thought you're talking to the person behind me. And because of LinkedIn, and being active there and meeting even people's needs on that platform, you get recognized, you get noticed, and then sort of opportunities have come out from that and colored my world in a very specific way, which is a
mm,
nice mosaic at the moment. So, yeah, that's very, very, very interesting what you said about, again, about upskilling.
mm.
And it's this whole thing about even legal technology that if our colleagues don't catch on, it's going to be they're going to be left behind. And that fear of, oh, technology is going to take over my job, or AI is going to take over my job, that's going to be a very legitimate concern. And the thing is that it's just a case of knowing how to use it, and having those guardrails. So I think it's very important, or very interesting how you started when the sort of the computer thing was like really minimal, and now you're
Yeah,
all the way over into, now we into artificial intelligence. And
yeah,
it's really a nice sort of trajectory that you took there.
yeah.
um
And I must say, while going through the course of the AI, it
mm,
also opened up and broadened my thinking in terms
yeah.
of how do you deal with AI even in the legal fraternity? Because
Hmm.
there was even cases around two lawyers that were penalized in the court system due to the fact that they were not really um, uh, uh, they used chat GPT and
Yeah.
in the cases, and then they were penalized through it. Sorry, my husband is just moving through. Yeah, so they were speaking about accountability. Whose accountability, or where does accountability need to
Yeah.
be positioned when you are using Chat GPT? So then I
Yeah.
was using my legal background in trying to deal with that particular aspect, because you are using
Mm,
AI for certain
yeah.
aspects, but you need to use it responsibly. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there have been lots of examples like that, even overseas, where that's why I'm such a stickler, as I said, for double checking. Even if you tell me that the product or the tool has built-in guardrails, I'm going to check. That's a habit for me, right? And I think, like I said at the outset, at least our profession, the legal profession, hasn't kept up. So I feel like even within, like, the Legal Practice Council, for example, there needs to be, or even the Law Society, there needs to be an ethics committee, not just to deal with AI ethics, but also to deal with practitioner ethics, because
mm,
the code of conduct, even the Legal Practice Act, that those are all minimum standards, right? And I'm a proponent of the view that ethics can't be taught.
yeah.
Okay, you either have a value system or you don't have a value system. And if you don't, maybe through whatever abuse, or your thinking is not regular or whatever, then we can help you. But those are very minimum standards that are put in place. But of course, ethics is something that you cannot cover every situation in a code of conduct or in an act, right? So if you have a committee, then that committee can sit with all of those kinds of decisions. Like a practitioner can go to them and say, we have this gray area, whether it's practice related or whether it's, legal tech or AI related. They can say, we have this gray area, we need your decision on this. And I feel like if we have that kind of a body in place, then of course the gray areas start to become less and less, and it's
Mm,
like, okay,
mm,
now practitioners have, so even the code of conduct starts developing.
mm,
Maybe there'll be an act that is enacted, or they'll add sections to the Legal Practice Act, so that there are fewer gray areas and practitioners know for a fact what they need to do in a certain area, in a certain space.
mm,
And I think
mm,
especially with AI, because of the pressure, for example, to meet deadlines, to make your billable hours, you're putting stuff through ChatGPT, you're not checking it. I'm
it's
not saying
yeah.
everybody is negligent. I'm saying the reality is there's also that the pressure
Mm,
demands, right? And so you're putting that in and then you're presenting it the next day or whatever. And it's not right. And then so how does, for example, the LPC um, navigate an AI related, because it's not practice related specific. I don't think it's practice related.
mm,
Okay. They may be using it in practice, but it's a technological
issue.
ethical issue. And now
Mm.
the LPC is like, still in the dinosaur era. You know, maybe if I can hear your thoughts on that, like, do you think an ethics committee or something that specifically to watch over the AI portion of it, will that
And
make a difference?
I think it is a requirement that you need to have a social and ethics committee in organizations, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think the LPC does have an ethics committee or maybe a governance structure to oversee the practice of lawyers and how they perform their duties. But I think what the issue is in South Africa is that we do not have regulation to regulate
Mm-hmm.
AI, the use of AI responsibly. And we need to now get that regulation sorted out first before organizations can implement that. But it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily mean that we all need to wait
Yeah.
for government to act. We can, in our little areas, try and develop something to so that individuals can abide by this particular policies. Because, in
Mm-hmm.
my institution that I'm working at currently, I've been very vocal around the AI use in the daily duties when they are
Mm-hmm.
even documenting something. This is a normal thing, not even a
Yeah.
legal document. You
Yeah.
need to use the AI responsibly so and ethically so. So I think that
Yeah.
is the we need to have the policies, but we need to also have an ethical code. Even in your
Mm-hmm.
ethics policies that you have in the organization, ensure that a particular aspect of AI comes into these policies and in
Mm-hmm.
these codes. So even the
Mm-hmm.
LPC also, when you are signing off as a member of the LPC, you need to also comply with the code of conduct as a whole
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be negligent. That's basically it. If you do not comply and you are doing
Yeah.
everything willy-nilly, you need to ensure that you are proper. There's due diligence in what you do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even when I was reading the case of the law in the courts of the law, the lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
the judge was actually very clear and said that this was very negligent of the lawyer. The lawyer did
Mm-hmm.
not do due diligence by just copying and
Yeah.
pasting the references.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it's actually competence because maybe
Yeah.
that individual had a very good background as a lawyer, but for 20 years he was doing things properly. But with
Mm-hmm.
one case, actually his name has gone down the drain because he did not use AI responsibly. Yeah, I think there's
Mm-hmm.
something that we also as lawyers, I mean, lawyers need to think of. Uh,
Yeah.
what your actions when you are trying to deal with AI or the use of AI.
Mm-hmm. Even myself, and I think it's a good, even for people that, I know a lot of people get admitted and they open law firms,
Mm,
which is not something I advise, but there's a lot to think about. And one of the things that law, like you're saying in your organization, just the handling of information, right, is a thing. So in a trust profession like law, like a doctor's profession, where exchanging emails, it might seem
Mm,
innocuous to the layperson, but it's confidential information. And so if you don't have, for example, protocols in your staff policy, or if you want to have a specific AI policy, if you don't address that up front, then of course you're going to have things like POPIA breaches. You're going to have all these inadvertent mistakes. And I
mm,
think, there's definitely, and for those that are listening, that your juices are, moving around, and, the wheels are turning. This is such a prime area to be, if you want to stay in the legal space even, um, to start looking at, from a business perspective, how this, not having proper AI protocols in place, can cost your firm. Look,
mm,
it's way more than legal professional privilege now, right? We're not just saying this information is protected because of legal professional privilege. You have the advent of WhatsApp, where staff members are sharing court papers. I mean,
mm,
if you can see steam coming out of my ears when I see things like that, I'll be like, no, just rather send it through email. It's a little bit more secure than
mm,
WhatsApp.
mm, mm,
So with all of these channels now, even firms are like, they're finding it easy to just send private information, um, even to do research and just send it over. And like, for someone that's maybe wanting to go into legal technology, I think if you want to be on the back end of things, in terms of, you don't know how to do the coding and stuff, but if you can start developing or putting together policy ideas, you can start.
mm,
I don't know what the avenues and mechanisms are in terms of our local government, but if you can start sort of serving the profession in that way, if AI is something that you're passionate about, even if you're doing a little bit of coding and computer stuff, and
mm,
not unlike the two of us, and you want to marry the two, and you want to say, okay, I'm not cut out for the courtroom, but what these ladies are discussing is something that I can see myself, for example, drafting an AI policy and proposing it to the LPC. You know,
mm,
go ahead and do it, because you've got to start somewhere. And as Devoshum said, we can speak about these things, and the wrongs that are going on, but at the same time, the most important thing is to make sure we have the policies and the
mm.
laws to give it the backbone, to give our voice a
Yeah.
backbone.
Mm, mm. Yeah. And I think, the law profession, the LLB now also needs to equip individuals with new skills. Like for example,
Mm-hmm.
AI, the legal aspects of it need to come into the curriculum. The aspects of property law, we're really not at the stage of intellectual property law, because it does
Yeah.
does intertwine with data protection, etc. So you need to be able to upskill in that. Universities need to have modules for that. Even
Mm-hmm.
with human rights, because now there's discussions around, is data protection a human right aspect, or is it just an ICT aspect? So you need to be able
Yeah.
to differentiate between that. Yeah. So, and even for regulators. So for example, I work for a regulator. I
Mm-hmm.
work for the data protection regulator in South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and basically lawyers are appointed. We have 90% of lawyers that are in the regulator. But when it comes to the ICT, investigating ICT matters, you need that
Mm-hmm.
particular skill set to be able to provide advice on certain aspects. So you need to
Mm-hmm.
upskill in that instances also. So the LPC needs to have maybe a handbook, or guidelines. So for example, if you want to specialize in a specific area, this is
Mm-hmm.
what you need to have as skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that I would
Mm-hmm.
advise the LPC to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely curriculum wise. I mean,
Mm,
it's much harder to push for, but I think gone are the days when those kinds of modules are like in the future. I know
Mm,
when I was at university from 2003 to 2007, um,
mm,
it seemed like, oh, nice modules, like interesting, ooh.
mm,
But now it's like it's a thing, like
mm,
if you're going to be, for example, going to the legal profession or in fact, all professions should have some kind of a cybersecurity AI type of
mm,
module, because at some point your career path is going to intersect, and you're going to be forced to interface with
mm.
AI or using
Yeah,
AI,
yeah.
right?
Mm,
So it's like it's no more nice to have. It's actually you need to know. Um, and I'm big on CPD. So I think even for those people out there that are listening that might already be in the field, and you maybe you're sitting on the fence about this AI thing, and you're like, better safe than sorry, I don't want to get in trouble. The more proactive and the more heroic approach is to upskill and learn how to use the AI properly. And even if,
yeah.
for example, you're an experienced practitioner, even in this space, you can even go into the policy drafting side of things and make sure that those that are incoming into the profession, we actually have guardrails, we have things in place that as technology, as the AI gets more and more advanced, we don't want to be left behind in the dust. And I think,
Mm,
as I said, when it comes to law firms and the technology, the more avenues and the more platforms we have to disseminate sensitive information, the more problems you're going to run into if we haven't set up anything in advance. And then we're going to have more cases or more
mm.
nuanced cases like those two practitioners, where maybe now it's going to be as the AI advances, you're going to have maybe the AI itself is going to be in court, right? But
Yeah,
if we have our laws, and we have protocols, especially in the legal profession, and then I think also the investigative profession, like what
mm,
you came out of. And
mm,
investigation inevitably involves, digging around, and you're gonna bump into the law as you did, right?
mm,
And sort of fell in love with it. So I think those professions, like we need to know how to handle the AI. We need to know, and of course, we need in our activism, we need, if we are not going to be at the forefront, or we're not going to be, we want to stay in the shadows, then we're better off helping our professions by being the policy drafters, being the researchers, okay? And you might find, I mean, if there's one task skill that we learn from university is research,
mm. Yeah.
okay? And we have everything for free. We have access to all of, Jutastat, LexisNexis, Sabinet, I know is nice for policy research and all of that. So I mean, that's one skill. If you as a graduate or a law student, maybe you can start thinking about this. If legal research is your strong skill, or one of your strong soft skills that you're building at university, then maybe this is something that you can consider going into as a career path, because the legal profession can potentially get into a lot of trouble. Okay, we have a lot of those cases, actually, way
Yeah.
too many.
Yeah,
So like even if
sorry, Lisa, I'm just saying, they must just be careful if they're going into the legal research profession. Don't use ChatGPT to do
no
their
no,
thesis.
not even not even if you are in a stuck for time, whatever. Yeah, don't
Yeah.
do that. Just use the ones that you are exposed to at university. So if that's if, you as an incoming person into the profession, you might say, I'm not cut out for the courtroom.
Hmm.
I like technology. I can see a gap in the legal profession. Even I can see a gap in our curriculum, our LLB curriculum. So how can I contribute to the solution? And so I
Mm.
can use my legal research skills and I can become an AI ethicist, researcher, whatever. And you can sort
Mm.
of help the profession catch up, as it were. You know,
Yeah,
so
there's also even the compliance officers. You can become compliance
yeah,
officers, because
yeah,
I see it used to be an auditing profession, but it has now been overtaken by the law profession because most of the compliance officers that you see in
mm,
organizations are lawyers who are LLB, who have done the LLB, etc., and now
yeah,
they are compliance officers. Um,
mm,
I am actually a compliance officer in my organization, but because of the fact that I have done my law modules. If I had not done it, then I don't think I would have been the compliance officer. You see,
mm,
so it depends also of the organization. How is the organization building its capacity and trying to even upskill their organograms in terms
mm,
of what is the culture of South Africa now in terms of employment,
mm,
and upskilling the staff in terms
yeah,
of yes, you have a normal LLB, but how do you want to take this further?
yeah.
Like, to try and leverage on it.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. And I think just to try to land the plane, even if it's something that you're not necessarily passionate about, but of necessity, you say, okay, this is something that the profession needs, so let me just go ahead and do it. But I think, especially with Indian people, like you can't get excited about your career, or they'll say, passion doesn't pay the bills, or so it may not be something that you're terribly excited about, but it is our normal now. And so you might, of necessity, maybe you don't get articles, which is probably going to be a reality for a lot of you listening. And if you don't get articles or you don't get into pupillage, you think that's the end of it. And so maybe just as one of those career paths that you want to think about, you may not be terribly excited about it, but unfortunately it's here to stay, and it's gotten our colleagues into a lot of trouble, as we've alluded to. And so maybe just as one of those options, you might even think, okay, I can put down legal researcher or legal policy advisor, and then just try to explore, like, what are the routes, what do you need to do, what are further certifications that you might need, just as one of those options that you can put down instead of going into the courtroom. If you can't get into that immediately, then branch off into
Mm.
something like this, because the profession definitely needs it. And at some point, even if you don't get involved directly in a courtroom setting, if you're in a legal profession or in a compliance profession, um, like Devoshum alluded to now, you are going to interface with AI, you are going to interface with the law, and you got to know you don't want to be caught on the side, like you said. Instead of, you'd rather be on the side where you know how to handle it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe how to help our colleagues, know how to handle it as well. So, any last thoughts for now?
I think I actually want to do my LLB now. That's basically it. I want to do my LLB. But I want to maybe specialize, as I mentioned, I'm very into the AI policy aspects of it. So maybe moving forward, I would want to get my LLB and then uh, be in full blown providing advice on AI policy. That's something
Mm.
that I have a keen interest in right now. I'm not too sure whether I'll have that keen interest next year, but at this moment in time, I do have that keen interest. Yeah, but the thing is, you need to be able to see for yourself what you are happy in.
Yeah,
Even with the LLB, um, this it's so big, it's so broad out there. You can do so many things. You can even be in an NGO, work in a
yeah,
non-governmental organization, and
mm,
be a human rights activist.
yeah,
Try to fight for the vulnerable. So you can use that for so many ways, in so many ways. There's like a list I can give you, of using your LLB or using your
Yeah.
law degree, etc., in terms of dealing with it. Because I've even seen in instances where board members are
Mm,
lawyers, but they are sitting in governance positions,
mm,
and they are providing advice to the organization. So it's also another career that lawyers can
mm.
get into, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's endless. Even company secretaries, you don't have to be a lawyer, you can be a a secretary, yeah.
Actually, the secretaries know more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You ask any, I mean, medium, I think any law firm, no matter the size,
Yeah,
it's the secretaries and the paralegals that actually are the backbone of the firm, and the lawyers
yeah,
just go out there and make it look good.
yeah,
So
yeah.
definitely. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you for the opportunity.
I think it was a nice discussion. Hopefully we've got people's juices flowing, and um, the introverts are saying there's something that I can do. I can sit
Yes.
in a musty library somewhere, and I can research policy, and I love AI and I love tech, and it's gonna
Mm,
be a great marriage. If you're one of those people, go for it.
do it.
And of course, you can reach out to people like myself, more so
Okay.
Devoshum. You can reach out to her on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, um,
Yes.
and I'm sure she'll be willing to chat and talk about how she's doing things the other way around. So she's doing her LLB last. Okay. And
Yeah.
maybe you can have a similar path, because as our name the podcast suggests, everyone's taking an uncharted and it all depends on, like you said, what you cut out for,
Yes.
what drives you, what you want to contribute to the profession, all of that. And because AI and ethics are so, they're getting our colleagues in trouble, as I kept saying.
Mm.
And we really need to play catch up in the South African context, legal professional context. So if you want to be part of that effort, then of course, that might be a career path for you. So please, what am I say, like, share,
Yeah, I
and
just I
subscribe.
just wanted to just say one thing. I think that
Sure.
I may be an accidental lawyer in the future because I
Of
wasn't set
course,
out to be a lawyer. So I'll be an accidental lawyer.
I'm an
Yeah.
accidental teacher. I mean, it's just the sort of the evolution that takes place, and
Yeah.
then you start getting, as you start getting excited, and you realize, hey, this is actually my sweet spot. So I
Mm.
like the fact that I hear the excitement when you talk
Yeah.
about the intersection, the
Yeah.
intersection of the law, the marriage of the law and
Yeah.
the forensic, the investigative stuff, and the AI and the ethics and the whistleblowing. It sounds like you hit a bit of a sweet spot, but I think, like you're saying as well, that there's more. There's
There's more,
probably
yes.
much more on your horizon. So, guys, take inspiration. Um, Reach out. The best discussions I had after the episode, in my opinion. So, if she can help, if I can help, let us know. And this will be on my YouTube channel at Your Friendly Law Mom, LAWMOM, as soon as I can edit and upload. So thank you once again, Devotion. I
Thank you.
appreciate the time on a Friday to boot.
Thank you.
And it was a pleasure hosting you today.
You too. And thank you for having me. Thank you. Bye.